There's a lot of BS that trucking companies will tell you just to get your foot in the door. They will tell you anything that you want to hear so that way you'll go and work for their trucking company. But in this video, we're going to go over some of the things that they lie to you about. The first one is definitely one of my favorites, and it's that you'll get more than 3,000 miles a week if you come work for us. And, you know, is that gonna happen sometimes? Yeah, sure. And are there companies out there that do provide this? Yeah, sure. But almost always, you're never gonna average 3,000 miles a week, especially if you're a company driver. It's very, very rare. Keep in mind, there's always exceptions to the rules, and you may even see some of those exceptions in the comments down below, but as a whole, as on average, you're not gonna get 3,000 miles a week. I do wanna take this time, actually, if you are an owner-operator or if you've been in the game for a while, comment down below, let me know what is, you know, if I don't cover it in this video, you know, what's another lie that these trucking companies will tell new people just to get them in the door? But 3,000 miles a week, not gonna happen. You're probably looking somewhere in the like 2,250 to, I mean, high end, maybe 2,700 miles a week. If you're getting more than that, consider yourself very blessed. When a company tells you that mileage pay is better than percentage pay, run, because that is never true. It's never true. Now, it's one of those things, you need to be at a company that's very transparent as far as what the actual load pays, and be very, very skeptical of that. You know, there are companies out there that own brokerages that will broker a load, and this is illegal, but it happens anyway. They'll broker a load, okay, from another broker, then they'll run it through their broker, then you see the pay. So they're taking a percentage right off of the top, and you're not getting paid what you're worth. So, you know, you're probably going to be running mileage, you know, as far as maybe your first couple of jobs or something. But if you can find a company that pays percentage pay and also is extremely transparent, which is difficult to do, but if you can find it, percentage pay is definitely the way to go. Oh, you'll be home every weekend as an over-the-road truck driver. That's not gonna happen. If you're an over-the-road truck driver, you're gonna be out 2 to 3 weeks minimum. And there will be times that you'll be out 4 weeks plus. Now, once again, kind of leaning towards the mega carriers and certain situations. You know, there are certain situations, if they wind up sending you down to Florida, you may get stuck. They wind up sending you to California, once again, you might get stuck. It's one of those things that happens. So just don't expect to be home all of the time. Even if you live in a place like Ohio and now keep in mind, I'm talking about over-the-road truck drivers. So that means you run all 48 states. Those, you know, you can expect not to be home every weekend. If they're telling you that you're going to be home every weekend, then, you know, you need to raise some eyebrows because it's probably not true. Now, if you're being hired under the title of a regional truck driver, then you can probably expect to be home every weekend, probably at worst every other weekend. And sometimes you may even get run through the house, you know, during the weekdays. But once again, over-the-road truck drivers, you are not going to be home every weekend. Here's one of my favorites, and this is true for me even recently, is that, oh, you won't have to drive in bad weather. Guess what? Bad weather happens everywhere. At the time of putting out this video, Texas, that's right, Texas is thawing out because it was basically a sheet of ice. More than half the state was covered in ice, has been covered in ice for the past few days. And as I'm talking to you right now, there are parts of Texas that are getting hit again. So no matter where you go, no matter where you drive, you are going to have to deal with this bad weather. It's just a matter of time. It's not a matter of if. matter of when. And you need to prepare yourself for that. You know, I'm a Southern boy. I'm from South Texas. This is where I grew up. And, you know, I didn't have a lot of experience driving in snow or God forbid, ice. You don't ever want to drive on ice. But, you know, the cold, the high winds, etc. And it's just something that you're going to have to get acclimated to. You're going to have to learn, and you can only learn by experience. But everybody tells you to slow down, and that is hands down the best advice that you can get. Now, don't crawl. If you're crawling 2 to 5 miles an hour, get off the road. You're just a hazard to everyone else that's actually on the road, and you don't want to be that. But, you know, understand that there is bad weather everywhere, and eventually you're going to run into it. So if they're telling you that you don't have to deal with bad weather, well, forget about it. Here's something that's pretty funny. Oh, our trucks never break down. What? You can't say that. You literally cannot say that. Now, they may say we have the most reliable trucks on the road, and yeah, that may be true. But a truck, it's a mechanical piece of equipment. They break down. And especially with as many miles as we put on trucks, I mean, you know, averaging somewhere between like 80,000 and 100,000 miles a year, well, you're gonna break down. I mean, stuff's gonna break. It just, you know, that's just part of the game. And when you're running for a company, a larger company, they're pretty much, you know, they may have mechanics at their shops, and if you can get to their shops, they might be able to get you in and out a little bit quicker. But if you get stuck at one of these dealerships, oh man, you know, you're gonna be down for a few days. So whenever you're looking at trucking companies, ask them what is their policy when the truck breaks down. Are they going to pay for, you know, are they going to pay for hotels? Are they going to give you per diem? These are things that you should be asking, because once again, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And when, especially dealing with, you know, a little bit older trucks, like 4 or 5 years old, that have the DPF systems on them, you definitely going to be breaking down. So make sure that they have something in place that's going to take care of you, and you don't have to come out of pocket. You know, also breakdown pay. Make sure they have breakdown pay. It's very, very important. This one kind of irritates me whenever they say, oh, we'll never ask you to do something that you don't want to do. That is just crap. They are 100% going to ask you to do something that you don't want to do. Because when that $4 to $5 per mile load pops up that goes to New York City, guess where you're going to be going? You're going to be going to New York City. Now, there are better companies than others, okay? They may not send you there. They may give you, or they may ask you a list of places that you don't want to go. But for the most part, you're going. And, you know, if you don't want to go to New York City, if you don't want to go to the Northwest, you know, basically anywhere that they're telling you that you're not going to go, you better expect to be going there. You know, there's a reason why, you know, the Northwest, New York City, downtown Chicago, you know, places like this pay really well, because it's tough to navigate, it's tough to drive a truck, easy to hit things, there's tons of traffic. DC's another good example. You know, you are going to wind up going to these places sometimes, and that's because these companies, you know, they see a juicy load, and you happen to be sitting 20 miles from it, you're going. So when they tell you that we're not going to ask you to do something that you don't want to do, just understand they are. They are, and they will. Like, for instance, when a storm pops up and you're, you know, need to put chains on, they're gonna ask you to put chains on. When I first started, I went through FFE, and in orientation they told us, oh, we never put chains on it. Chains have to go on the truck, you shut down. Guess what we had to do? We had to chain. So, you know, they're gonna tell you that, they're gonna try to make you feel comfortable. Just be prepared for it, because you know, if you're not willing to go to some of these places, then, well, you probably shouldn't be driving a truck. Oh, here's one that really gets me. We were the top paying company of such and such years. Or we were the, you know, whatever company for such and such year. Those titles are bought and paid for. I think, oh, it's best fleet to drive for. That's what it is. those titles are bought and paid for. If you don't know, JD Power Rankings, for instance, those can be purchased. If you don't know, now you know. Titles like that, they're just paying for advertising. It's just a form of advertisement for them. So when you see stuff like that, you probably should be questioning it and probably should avoid it. Because the top paying companies out here, they don't have to advertise. And guess what? They don't advertise. And the best fleets to drive for, they don't advertise either because they don't need to. So when you see titles like that attached to companies, think about it. And this last one is hands down the worst of all. And it really just irritates me because, these bigger companies are taking advantage of new truck drivers. And that is whenever they tell you that you can make more money in their lease purchase program than you can as a company driver. And while technically that's going to be true, you are going to gross more than you will as a company driver. The vast majority of you are not. And yes, don't get me wrong. There are lease purchase, programs that are decent, but if you're new, avoid them like the plague, because these companies make the most money from people that lease purchase trucks through their company. I'm not talking about lease purchase programs. I'm talking about going directly through a lease purchase company. When you are leasing the truck through the company that you're working for, well, just run. Just run. I've got a video talking about this, going in great detail about all of this that I will post right up there, but just trust me on this. Run from those. They want you to do that 100%. It removes all of the liability off of them and puts it onto you. And quite frankly, you don't know what you're getting into, especially being new. Are there success stories out there? Sure. There's probably even success stories here on YouTube. But understand, those are very much the minority. Those are not the majority, and it's something that you do not want to roll the dice on. Please take my word for it. Don't roll the dice on this. But hey, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell. Check out one of these videos right over here. YouTube does a great job of understanding what you might want to watch next, so click on one of those. But as always, stay driven.